What's going on, guys? Nuggets here. Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to go over all the different pass types and the controls and how you do them. Obviously passing is one of the most important things in FIFA, and we start off with the main one, the ground pass. I'm sure many of you guys used this before. The most simple and most common pass. You press X to do a ground pass on a PlayStation or A on the Xbox. Likewise, this is if you want the ball to come towards your feet. So if you want to make a pass someone, the ball will come to the feet. And likewise, the more power you apply, the more power the pass will have, and the less power you apply, the less power the pass will have. But don't forget, the game also assists you. So if you've got your passing on assisted, even if you tap it sometimes, the game will assist it to what they think is the correct player. But the ground pass, the most simplest of them all. Then we move over to a lob pass. Now a lob pass is by pressing square on the PlayStation or X on the Xbox. Now if you use this, for example, in your own half, or you use it in the middle of the pitch, it ends up becoming a lob pass. But if you use it down the wing, it ends up becoming a cross. I'm sure you've experienced this. So if you use it down the wing, it ends up becoming a cross. If you use it anywhere else, it ends up becoming a lob pass. It's very effective, as you can see, in these situations to get the ball above ground, and that way you avoid anyone from on the ground level to get the ball. So basically you put it high in the air. It does have a slightly slow velocity, but it's good to evade tackles if you're getting pressed, to move the ball away. Then we have the through pass, a pass that I would say is very much overused. A through ball should only realistically be used if you have a striker running in behind or a winger and you want to play the ball in front of them so your player can run onto the ball. And that is the main reason for a through pass. Now people have been using this in midfield. There is reasons and places to use it, but realistically should be only be using this in the final third, or if there's space in front of the player you want to pass to and you want the player to run onto the ball. It's very effective if you do a quick 1-2 and then you try to make a pass going forward. Now those are the three basic passes of FIFA. We're going to go now through the more advanced passes. So the first one is a 1-2. All you do literally is you hold the L1 and then you hold the A button if you're on Xbox, or X if you're on PlayStation, and literally what you do is a 1-2. So the player who has the ball, when he makes a pass, once he makes the pass, he will then make a run going forward. So this is very effective if you want to, for example, make a pass to one player and that player makes running behind, and then you can make a pass to him after. It's one of the most effective ways of getting forward, and probably one of the most underused things. Just be careful who you use this with. You don't want to be using a 1-2 with your centre back or your left back or right back, or they'll be running forward most of the time. You only want to be using this with attackers that will be making runs going forward. We then have the threaded through pass. Now, a threaded through pass is very similar to the through ball, but it actually has a bit more velocity on the ball, and it's very good to be used down the wing. So if you get the ball with your winger and you do a 1-2 back to your right back, and let's say your winger makes a run down the wing, you can do a threaded through ball. It's very, very effective. All you do is R1 plus triangle if you're on PlayStation, or RB plus Y if you're on Xbox. And what this does is it gives a high powered through ball that goes a bit more further ahead and has high velocity than a normal through ball. So it's effective if you're completely free and behind, or there's lots of space in front of you. I would advise you to use it on the wing. That's the best areas to use it, down the wing, when you're making a pass towards your winger from either your fullbacks or even your CDMs. Then we have the driven ground pass. Now in FIFA 22, it's actually a very effective pass. What this basically is a standard ground pass, but what you do is when you hold the R1 button, it ends up becoming a driven ground pass. Now to do this, you hold the R1 plus X if you're on PlayStation, or RB plus A if you're on Xbox. And what this does is the normal pass ends up having a lot of power. Now this is really good if you want to ping the ball on the ground from one side of the pitch to the other, but be very careful, because with this pass, it has a lot of power into it, so that way the person that controls the ball will have difficulty controlling it. So do bear in mind, if you make this to a pass to a player that's too close, you could lose control of the ball. So this is really good to be used if, for example, a player is far away, you want to pass the ball to him, for example, as you can see here, and you want to get the ball to him quickly, and you don't want it to be slow as someone else can just intercept the ball. So a driven pass will be very effective in the vicinity. Hold the R1 button and then you press the X. A very, very simple pass to make the ball go forward very quickly. Then we have the lofted ground pass. Now just like a regular pass, the X pass or the A pass, if you're on Xbox, a lofted pass, it just means kind of like a dip or like a lob on the pass. Now this is very, very effective in this FIFA. If there's, for example, a player in the way and you want to make a pass to that player, you can double tap the X button, or if you're on Xbox, you can double tap the A button and the ball becomes lofted. So it kind of has like a little bit of a bounce to that. This is actually very effective to use if you're down the wing and you want to pass the ball inside the box. It's very effective to use lob passes here, because what you can do is you can basically avoid your opponent's feet because the ball goes around the knee height level. And when the ball goes around the knee height, it makes it very hard for your opponent to get the ball. But don't overuse this. You should only be using this in wing type situations, or if there's a player in the way and you want to make a pass to someone in front, you can do a double X pass and get the ball straight to their feet. Very, very good and effective, especially down the wing. And similarly, likewise, you have a lofted through pass, just like the lofted pass with a through ball variation where you double tap the triangle button, or for your next box, you double tap the Y button. The exact same thing. Let's say, for example, you want to make a pass down the wing, but there's a player in between you and the player you want to pass to. You can use a double Y to get the ball to pass around that player. Don't forget, it does go around knee height. Don't overuse this because it should only be used in different situations. The more you play the game, the more you'll understand that there's certain situations where it does work and certain situations where it doesn't. My best advice is, if you're going to make a regular pass and you're not sure that pass is going to complete because there's someone in the way, then do a lofted ground pass or lofted through ball, and that way you can guarantee the success a bit higher. And sometimes the game does not react, or the animations do not react to the lofted pass itself. Then we have the lob through pass, a very effective pass this year. It's L1 plus triangle, very, very similar to the through ball, except for this one, it's an elevated pass. So let's say, for example, if you want to make a through ball to someone making him running behind, you hold the L1 plus triangle button. If you're on Xbox, LB plus Y, as you can see, and the ball becomes elevated, and you can basically do a lob through ball in front of them, and the ball will land in front of them, and of course you run onto it. So very similar to a normal through ball, except for it's just elevated. Perfect for when you're making a winger that's running in behind, or there's someone across the pitch that you want to lob the ball to that you can't really reach with a general normal pass. And on that note, you do have the driven lob through pass, which is an L1 plus R1 plus triangle. Now, to be honest, you don't need to worry about this one too much. It does have its reasons. It's basically a lob through pass, similar to the driven pass. It just has a bit more power. So like the threaded through ball where you hold the R1 plus triangle, the same thing here. So the L1 plus R1 plus triangle, or LB and RB plus Y, it applies more power and the ball goes further away. So if there's someone that's miles ahead or much more further in front, you can use the L1 plus R1 plus triangle. But to be honest, most of the time, to keep things simple, an L1 plus triangle with a lot more power will achieve very much the same thing, because don't forget, the game does assist you quite a bit in terms of the passing. Then we have a driven lob pass or a driven cross. Like I said, with the lob pass or the cross, it's the exact same thing, except for you hold the R1 button. Now, the benefit of this is when you do this, if you switch the ball from one side of the pitch to the other side, it's similar to a lob pass, but it kind of goes around mid-height, but it has more power and velocity to the pass. And if you use this down the wing, it ends up becoming like a driven cross across the box. So it's very, very effective, similar to the lob pass, but this way this has a bit more power. So you want the ball to go from A to B very, very quickly. You hold the R1 plus square button. Off your Xbox, RB plus X. Then we have the high lob or the high cross, similar to the other one. So high lob or high cross is the exact same thing. If you lob the ball in the air, but you hold the L1 plus square, if you're on Xbox, LB plus X, it just has a very, very high trajectory. It's the exact same thing as a lob pass, but just with a higher trajectory. So don't forget L1 plus square or LB plus X. And then finally, we have more of a fancy variation. I wouldn't say this is necessarily needed at all, but you do have the flare pass or the flare lob. Just like how you do a normal X pass or you do a normal lob pass, you just hold the L2 button. Or if you're on Xbox, you hold the LT button. What that means is sometimes your player will try to backheel the pass or do a fancy pass going forward. So it's not that effective, but it's quite good to show off a pass if you have, for example, someone completely in behind and you're winning, for example, 1 or 2-0. But it's not that important, to be honest. But a flare pass or flare lob, you hold the L2 button and it ends up becoming like a fancy flick. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That is, of course, the passing tutorial and the passing types in FIFA 20. I just want to finally close out by saying the most important thing in regards to passing is to make sure you face the player. This is single-handedly the most important thing and the reason why many passes fail. If you make a pass like this when the ball is bouncing or you're passing away from your player, there is a big chance you could lose the ball. So my best advice is to always take a touch and then face the player and then make the pass. This would be the biggest difference in guaranteeing your pass success. So if you want to make a pass, also do not hold the run button. If you hold the run button and you make a pass, there'll be a lot of inaccuracy. So what you want to do is literally just use the left analog stick to dictate the area you want to pass the ball to. So for example, like here, I want to make a pass going forward. So I face forward and make a regular X pass. Here I want to make a pass to the midfielder. So when I get the ball, I face the midfielder and then I make the pass. But again, because there's no one there. If there was someone over there, I would just go and make another pass. So don't force the pass. So only make the pass if the person is free. So for example, like here, I take a touch and I want to make a pass to the attacker. So what do? I take a touch. I somewhat at least face the player and then I make the pass before my player gets me. At least face somewhat towards them. So do not, a lot of people make the mistake of when they get the ball to their feet, they do a first time pass. No, take a touch, control the ball and then make a pass to increase accuracy. And then if you want to, for example, use the L1 trigger, don't forget the L1 trigger just sends a player to make a run in behind. That can aid a pass, but then it comes to timing. So for example, like here, I see the space, then I do a lofted through ball just because I thought it was going to intercept it, and that's what brings the ball straight to my feet, and I end up going with a cheeky chip in the end. But the most important thing I want you just to be aware of is make sure you face the player. You see in all situations, I face the player, and if there is someone in the way and you're not sure, for example here, I use the correct pass type, a lofted through ball. That way if you did try to make the interception, the ball either bobbles or goes around knee height, and that way it avoids the player. I time it to perfection, and then I make sure it's a guaranteed pass. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget, practice makes perfect.